We are now recording. So welcome everybody. So happy that you could make it to this virtual meeting. My name is Sophia Montes. I work with Apex Applied Technology. We are grant consultants that are working with Don and Barrio Grains to help them manage their local food promotion program grant through USDA Agricultural Marketing Service. So this is kind of what we do. We help people, most often nonprofits and tribal organizations, but occasionally, local food producers like Don apply for and manage their grant programs. So we're really excited to be working on this program with him. It's been a lot of fun so far. And this is going to be a really great info session that we hope really benefits you all. So I'm going to hand it over to Don. And then once they're done introducing themselves, we're going to go around and very briefly introduce everybody here. Everybody can have a chance to do a quick, one to two sentence intro of yourself. So start thinking about what you want to say and also what you're hoping to get out of this info session. It'll help us kind of tailor this to your needs. So Don, if you want to go ahead.
Hey everybody, welcome to the session. I appreciate your attendance. My name is Don Guerra and Barrio Bread. And I'm a USDA recipient of local food promotion for Barrio Bread and also for Barrio Grains. So really excited to expand the local grain economy here in Southern Arizona and working with some great partners. John Levy in this project, and he's adding a lot of technical assistance. But today, I wanted to bring Ray into the session. He's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to opening a business during COVID. We started planning a year ago for this concept, and he's coming in with a lot of great experience and know-how, and just a lot of amazing smarts about how to navigate this whole thing. But we hope to have a session here that's not so much direct instruction, but as just information sharing. And it'd be great if everyone, as they introduce themselves, to just say, what they hope to learn from the session, what information they hope to gain. And then there will be some sharing of information afterwards, some handouts that can be sent your way. So yeah, thanks for everybody for coming.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I see some familiar faces on here and appreciate all of you in this time that Don's allotted us. Really want to learn a lot about Don's USDA efforts. Our family has a USDA company in Tucson, so Don's USDA work is rather intriguing to me because we work on the other side of the USDA world with the production and whatnot. Family owns the El Charro restaurants, which we're most known for, the C. Charro Restaurant Group. Flores Concepts is our managing entity. The El Charros are celebrating their 99th year this year, so we've been through a few things in our history that I can count on, but nothing could have ever prepared us because we were about 4 or 5 years off that 1918 pandemic from opening. So I can't claim any experience of that pandemic, but I can tell you what we went through a little bit about this last year, and hopefully it sheds some light on some of the obstacles as well as the opportunities in front of us. So thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
Sophia, I'll go ahead and jump in. I'm John Levy. I work with Don on Barrio Grains. We've been working with the concept for the grain business, building a local grain economy for about the last year and a half, maybe 2 years. Also work with Barrio Bread and some of the other Barrio stuff. Sophia touched on it, but part of why we're here today is because part of the USDA grant process, of which we're a part of, necessitates food safety. So as we looked at that requirement, and not just food safety, but going out to the community and bringing information to the community, sharing information, and holding a community forum like that. As we looked at that requirement, there was something pretty obvious staring us in the face, right in the mirror, which is the COVID pandemic, and how food safety has really changed from a food production restaurant producer perspective. So we were able to leverage Ray, and appreciate Ray joining us today, who's gone through it, not just with a new business, but with all of his existing businesses, and has been really on the forefront. So we've got that experience and knowledge to leverage. But also, as Sophia mentioned, as everybody introduces themselves, we're interested in this being a dialogue. So as you guys have questions, inputs, experiences, how you might have handled something we're talking about differently, jump in, raise your hand, and we welcome an active, open engagement. So thanks for joining, and look forward to getting forward.
And there
Hi, my name is Dee. Sorry,
Oh no, I
my
was
name
just
is
gonna say
Dee
there is a
Pfizer
raise.
from Sine Thai Bistro. I just produce food in a restaurant setting, so I'm really curious of how I could be a part of the food safety and reaching out to the community and how that all works. Up to now, it's just me running the restaurant, selling food.
Thank you. I just wanted to add,
That's
there is a raise hand option in case you don't feel comfortable jumping in with, verbally. So that is another way to get our attention. And thank you for introducing yourself. Everybody else can just go ahead and start introducing themselves. If it's too quiet, I'm going to start calling on people. So just go ahead. Cynthia, I guess you're first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Arias. And well, I'm new here to Arizona. I relocated 15 months ago from Tijuana, Mexico. And I'm the owner of The Cookie Jar. I've worked from home. I've been a home baked, how do you say it? Home business owner. And when I got here to Arizona, well, it's very different from Mexico and the United States, how the food handling works and, all the permits you need to have. So I've been learning a lot, and I am very interested to getting on the boat on, the A to C, the proper way to handle food. And so this last year, I've been busy getting my food handling, my certificates from the Cottage Food Law program, but I want to expand my business. I want to go, build my brick and mortar cookie boutique. And well, I'm trying to get all over, learn from the big ones here from Tucson. I see it's a very foodie city, and I love it. I come from a very gastronomy city that is Tijuana. I don't know if you've heard about it, but I'm very interested in learning from all of you. So here I am. So I do decorated cookies. That's only I specialize in decorating cookies. So I'm here to learn from all of you.
Great, thank you. Next, hand.
All right, Sandy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm totally new to Zoom, so sorry if I'm messing anything up. I just started a cottage food business, baking bread, and I'm a little familiar with Don Guerra, and I am just totally open to anything I can pick up from the professionals here. I'm in California, and I just started maybe about a month or two ago, baking bread from home, and got my permit and everything, and so I'm just kind of wanting to listen in on what you guys have to say.
One of our co-sponsors, Jonathan, from Tucson City Gastronomy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan Mabry. I'm the executive director for the nonprofit called Tucson City of Gastronomy, and we manage the UNESCO designation of Tucson and its Southern Arizona food shed as a UNESCO creative city of gastronomy. And we actively provide business training for food startup businesses that are focused on heritage ingredients. We also have a certification program where we certify official Tucson City of Gastronomy restaurants and food artisans. And I can tell you more about that later. Lastly, we've also tried to do our best to support the local restaurant industry. We're encouraging the mayor to allow successfully to allow restaurants to temporarily operate as grocery stores during the pandemic. And also we supported the city council's limits on third-party delivery fees from restaurants And we have also collaborated with the Restaurant Advisory Council of the Tucson Metro Chamber. That is the council that Ray is the chair of. And we continue to collaborate with them to try to support our local food businesses.
Great, thank you so much. All right, who's next?
I can go next. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olga John, and I am owner and manager of Juniper Canyon Farms in Nosley, Arizona. At this moment, I work as an intern at Coffee Pot Farms in Delcon, Arizona. And what I want to learn, I guess, through this meeting or this session is about what's expected from farmers during the pandemic, because we are planning on hitting up some farmers markets, and I don't, like, I'm not really sure on all the different rules, policies, or whatever, even as far as like vaccine, getting vaccinated, just I guess that type of information, just to be safe and have everybody, have like a peaceful state of mind when they're like buying food from us.
Great, thank you. All right, who's next?
I can go next. Hi, my name is Alex Getting. I was born in Virginia, but then I came out west to the U of A, where I actually met Sophia in college. So it's nice to reconnect and kind of be in the same circles. I own and operate Verde Brewing Company in Sedona, Arizona, or Camp Verde to be more specific. But we have a small staff, about 8 people, and just trying to get the best practices and get them the best information that we can. So when we do reopen, which we're aiming around March 17th, we can just stay open and be successful and make money and share the wealth. So I love the Tucson area and hope to reconnect down there as well one day. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex, and welcome. Awesome, who's next? I'm going to start calling on people then. How about Dawn Urquhart?
Hello, I'm Dawn Urquhart, and I'm a functional nutritionist, and I relocated to Tucson in early 2019. And I work one-on-one and in groups with clients, and I've thought about starting a food-based business that would be farm to table. And so I'm thinking about what that might look like in this new day. So any insight into COVID safety and partnering with farms and anything like that would be great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. How about Norma?
Hi there, Norma Gentry. I own ProVentures Marketing and Public Relations. And for many years, I worked with a lot of people in the restaurant industry. I know and love both of the speakers today. And I think what they are going to have to talk about is information that I don't know much about. And I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you, Norma. Okay, Tyler Pierce.
Yeah, hi, I'm just calling in and listening. I live in the greater Mesa area right now and just interested in some of the aspects of opening a new business. My area of interest would be pizza. And so just thinking about what considerations need to be made opening a restaurant during this time period and how to open it successfully, manage it successfully.
Great, thank you. Julian.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Julian Alarcon. I'm the general manager for Barrio Charro, the new collaboration between Carlota Flores and Don Guerra. I am really excited. At the same time, I'm really upset with Don because I've been eating so much bread the last couple of months that I've probably gained about 20 pounds, but I'm very fortunate to be learning from the best. I'm really, really also very happy that the Flores family has invited me to their table to partake in a new venture. It is during COVID times, and I'm really happy to be learning from probably the best in Tucson right now. So thank you very much. I hope to learn a little bit more moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Dustin.
Hi, my name's Dustin Newman. I'm currently employed with Flores Restaurant Concepts as a manager at their Ventana location, the El Charro Cafe. I've been with the company for approximately a year, but I've been in the restaurant industry for 15 years consistently, but I was kind of raised in the back of a kitchen in Chicago. I've learned so much over the past year that I've been employed with the Flores Concepts. Obviously dining in, the changes with going to takeout only, all the processes that the health department and the Serve Safe programs that they have out there for all the COVID restrictions and things like that. I really want to learn more about, the bread that Don is making, the new concepts, obviously more about these types of dietary restrictions that customers have, the allergens, things like that. And just, how to manage, restaurants better and more efficiently, and, just continue to learn from all these great minds and all these great people that are here. So thank you so much for having me.
Great, thank you. And next is Carlota. Are you there? Are you able to talk?
She might be on mute, not know it. She's on her cell phone, I think.
Okay, well, we'll skip over. And then Gary Hickey.
Hey, what's going on? Sorry, let me pull into a parking space. Driving. All right, there we go. How's everyone? My name is Gary Hickey. I'm the executive chef and partner for Flores Concepts. Partners with Ray and Carlota, and now Don Guerra. Been friends for a long time, and I'm kind of the execution part of the team. I make sure that all of the culinary wishes happen. So thanks for having me, and looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. Now, Chris Allers has let me know that he's able to listen, but he's not able to talk, but he's with Shamrock Foods. So is there anyone that I've missed that didn't get a chance to introduce themselves? Okay, great. Well, I'll let Don and Ray kind of take it from here then.
Okay, well, we can take off our masks now. There were some people coming in and out. Don and I have been pretty crazy about the mask wearing, and I think all in all, that's a good word, right, for the craziness that's happened in our world. And we make jokes about it, but it has definitely put a permanent wrinkle on things that we have to accept that will be there for a long time. I think when COVID broke, and it actually, started out east further, obviously, before it came to our market in Arizona. Back in probably early March, if not even late February, I started asking some of our partners, what were we going to do in this specific market and then elsewhere? For instance, we have a store that's a different brand, but we have a Cervezas outlet in Baltimore BWI Airport. And it was shut down earlier than everything else, obviously, because everything else out east was shutting down. And the first thing that came to mind for me as the person that kind of oversees the business side of our family's enterprises was, what are we going to do about leases and real estate and the big burly hairy stuff that really makes business tough to do, right? It's beautiful to talk about food and grains and deliciousness. That's what we want to talk about. Nobody ever wants to open up their file and have to review their lease again. Like, I'm sure, Dee, you probably have that hidden somewhere, in a closet, and you don't want to see it again until like you have renewal time, because those are ugly documents. And we had to all of a sudden go back and go, well, what are we going to do? Because this thing's coming west. And one of the things that I went back on right away was said, we can't do this alone. We can't simply respond because we know that it's coming this way. We're not Starbucks. We don't have a team of lawyers sitting around thinking through these things. We really need to get together and talk about what's going to happen. Starbucks can make a decision and weigh down on all thousands and thousands of stores and say, this is what we're going to do. And everybody reacts to Starbucks, not the other way around. So we were having to react to COVID, and we had to come in and say, look, dear City Council, dear Pima County Health Department, dear USDA, which we have a USDA inspector on site in our building all the time. What are we going to do? And the most of it in early March was wait and see. Most of it was go on doing business as usual. You know, in a case of USDA rate, follow your HACCP plan. In the case of Pima County, do the 1 to 10, you know, leave it as is. And then it kept getting obviously worse. And then of course the NBA announcement came along, and I think that really shook the core of everybody that the NBA pulled the plug. I think that kind of was a big wake-up call that nobody had thought of yet. And all of a sudden we had to say, well, this is bigger than we think. We need to do something bigger. And that's when this meeting happened between us and the city council. And fortunately, the mayor had said, Ray, I want you to put together a group of people. We grabbed this opportunity, we sat down, and we really talked about what the what ifs were going to look like. For instance, there's language in your lease, if you're a restaurant, that may be force majeure. Well, okay, will we be able to claim force majeure and use the COVID issue as a way to modify or deal with our leases? Would there be a public health crisis doctrine that would allow us to do things legally to change our business models, or to suspend our rent payments, or to abate other issues? We needed more influential impact in our business than just simply wait and see. And we pushed the needle really from the operations side through the government side. It was really a group of restaurateurs and local food people that drove the county and the city to make a decision in the best interest of the public health, because we knew, as we've always known, restaurants focus on public health. Food service people, like all of us in this room that are food service professionals, have always lived under the guise of being ready for public health, preparing food in a public health fashion. We don't take that with a cavalier attitude. We invest efforts, our time, our energies. None of us want to be in the health department radar thing or on Channel 4 restaurant cops. Or we work hard to provide a food and product and service to folks that was food safety first, health safety first. So we were the ones driving the dialogue. Dear city, dear county, dear USDA, what are you going to do? What should we be doing? And a lot of it in the beginning was, we're not sure, stay the course, etc. But that wasn't good enough when you had national brands like McDonald's and Starbucks saying, we're going to shut down dining rooms. We couldn't react to that. We had to be ready for it. So we took the idea that, number one, we had to be very, very clear to people. We had to be transparent to our teams of people. Even if you had one employee, you've got to tell them what is going on, because they have to know that you're there with them, that you're not against them in any shape, way, or form, or looking at them as something as an issue. Because number one, they're walking in your doors every day, and they could be infected with COVID. They should not feel that they have a barrier between you and communication at a time like this. They need to be very transparent. I don't feel well today. You need to be able to have this reaction and a working relationship with them that before COVID was probably more like, well, I'm going to go in even though I have fever because I need the hours. Or I'm going to go in, and even though I don't want to go in, but my boss said, I don't care if you're throwing up, I need you. That kind of stuff could not be anymore. That kind of nature couldn't be. So we wanted to lead with transparency. We set up Zoom calls with all our teams immediately. And I wrote this in a little document. We created a war room. I mean, that's not something that really happens in restaurants. So, or in food service. We literally created a war room where we had the television going throughout the time, listening to the different public PSAs that were coming out from the government, listening to the county, the city, the state, what the governor was going to do. That was going on for weeks at a time. We created channels of information like these Zoom calls that we're doing now, which were much rougher to do back then and much more difficult and different. We started putting files together in our systems. There's huge COVID folders in our company that contain memos that we've used, memos on what does it mean when you think you've got COVID, and not only in English, but in Spanish. And what does it mean when you think you've been exposed, and telling people what they could go to and giving them trusted information. posters from the various government entities that we could use so that the stores had a ready place to go and print up a mask poster or a hand washing poster that they needed. We immediately got involved with government being in the, we were asked to join the Pima County programs to set up Ready for You. We started working with groups like Jonathan said. We put together a relationship between the city of gastronomy, as well as the health department, as well as Visit Tucson, as well as the city of Tucson. And of course, we launched the Tucson Restaurant Advisory Council because we knew down in Tucson, we needed a unified voice. We needed a collective voice if we were going to be dealing with issues in the government, which we were. Things like curfews, things like mandatory dining room shutdowns or limitations to seatings. These were all things we knew we needed to coalesce around, and it took an effort, but it's there now. And the good thing is I hope it doesn't go away. So out of the COVID stress came some great structural creations that now we have the tools in the belt, if you will, to go and work together. This is one of them, this kind of phone call here. The opportunity for me to share, I mean, we, as our family business, we immediately created a C100 plan. In late April, we wrote a 100-point plan that we published to everyone that included best practices from multiple operations, a review of our own systems, what our own physical stores were going to go through, movement towards sanitizing stations at every access point, UV lighting in our air conditioning systems, whatever we could do and find that was affordable in our world and would have an impact in the real world, we looked at and we installed, or we figured out how to pivot to or from that. And then we documented it so that it wasn't just talk. It was an actual document that lived in real time that people could refer to. And I think the public really liked that. I know that the concept of our C100 plan went national. Restaurant magazines picked it up. We were on national blogs about it, and it became this living document. And you know what? The best part is we shared it everywhere. And if somebody copied and used it, good for them. I hope they did, because it wasn't about our restaurant survival. It was about our community surviving. And I think as months went on, that's what our efforts were. We really went back and said, well, how are we going to stay? How are we going to stay in business? Well, let's get back to the community. And we started developing programs that gave back as well as brought revenue in. So whether it was like, we launched a program online called Tamales for Heroes. Well, you know, it sounds like what it is. We were literally selling tamales online that people could buy, and we would deliver them to area hospitals. To date, I think we've delivered over 7,000. We delivered over 7,000 or 8,000 tamales to Southern Arizona hospitals, paid for through sponsorships from the community. At that time, that launched our online model, which was Tamale of the Month, which we've been wanting to do for years. But COVID gave us the impetus and the time to say, let's move more to online. And it really woke us up in a lot of areas where there were opportunities to serve people, which is what we want to do. Every one of us on this call wants to serve people a product, wants to do business with other people. We have to take this time to think about what has COVID taught us? Well, we got to move our business to a more online electronic models. But at the same time, that doesn't negate the fact that you got to be ready to serve, and you got to be ready to innovate. You got to be open and transparent, because people want to do business with the brands and the people that are transparent. They don't want hidden secrets, and COVID has exposed a lot of that. So I think you want to publish what you're doing. You want to publish your cleanliness plan, your HACCP plan, publish your practice plan. We asked the Pima County Health Department, stop hiding behind difficult walls, make these things available. They made ServSafe, which is, you know, the industry's sanctioned and certified way of training people through food safety. They made that free during COVID's initial period because we pushed them to, because we needed to tell people, you've got to go through ServSafe. We wanted everybody. And then ServSafe started adding modules for delivery issues, how to deal with third-party apps, how to deal with boxing things properly for food for takeout. They started adding all these modules that you could take, and we started sending people through to them. That's what we needed, and that's what's going to have to continue long after COVID. I'll take a break and stop talking if anybody else wants to go for a minute. Okay, I'll keep talking.
Keep going. It's good. It's a great story. I mean, it really captures sort of the beginning to getting to where we're at. So it's neat to hear the history.
Well, thank you. So if the people that are looking at, and I know that I've been in other arenas where I've been asked about things like access to capital. I've been asked about PPP loans. I've been asked about EIDL loans. I've been asked about grant monies. Look, I mean, I don't have any more crystal ball than what's literally on your screen today by a Google search. And there's a lot of it out there. I would immediately subscribe to industry publications like Nation's Restaurant News or the food journals that are out there, because they have articles and they'll have links and they'll tell you where to go. I think we can even give some folks on this call access to some of those. There's a lot of small business grant type of dollars out there. The YWCA stuff, the Somos Uno stuff in this market that the mayor put out when CARES Act dollars were available. And again, they're going to come back around. By having folks like Jonathan from COG, like having folks with the chamber and allowing us to set up the Tucson Restaurant Advisory Council, we also needed to have dollars, companies like Shamrock that supported us financially to allow us to pay lobbyists to write a letter, because we wanted to support the Independent Restaurant Coalition's effort on the Save Restaurant Act, which in the first stimulus 1 or 2 came through was bypassed. They did not have it. They're still working on it today, but there's a good inclination we have that the Save Restaurant Act is going to pass, or if it hasn't already, they were voting on it any day now. But the Save Restaurant Act was formed with efforts like what we did in Tucson. We worked with a guy named Bobby Stuckey in Colorado who organized the Independent Restaurant Coalition. That is going to be a great tool for people that are in small micro food businesses, food trucks, small food producers, small chefs, independents, etc. It's designed specifically for that. It's not designed the way the first PPP round came around, which was a lot of companies, the Potbelly story, of them taking money off the table because they could, or the publicly traded company like a Fleming's taking money off the table. That's not possible in this Independent Restaurant Coalition, Save Restaurant Act. That's going to be designed for everybody like that's on this phone call. And the good part about this, and even the changes that we fought for, and I can show you letter after letter that was sent through our senators. And fortunately, our senators in Arizona were leaders on this. Kristen Sinema really did have a big footprint on the Save Restaurant Act. And groups like, even though we have differences, et cetera, the Arizona Restaurant Association working with our Tucson Restaurant Coalition was important because they had an ear to the governor and getting things like we're working on right now, which is to extend the opportunity to deliver alcohol. That came about through these similar constant barrage of letters and phone calls to say, look, these are survival tools. We didn't need this before, but we need these survival tools now. And I think that the more that we coalesce these type of meetings, the more that we hear about each other's goals, we can kind of put and package these together. In the beginning of COVID, and I'll share it to you, I wrote a document called the SURE Act, which was Somos Uno Restaurant, I can't remember what the E stand for, endurance, but I wanted to send the city council some ideas back in April about what they could do to help restaurants. They weren't sure. These are not business people necessarily, and they're not involved with our business like that. So I was able to, like for instance, the expansion of sidewalk cafes. Those were happening in other markets. That should have happened a lot earlier in our market because we have the weather for them, but they finally got out of the way and made those possible. Now you can see some of those extensions of premises going on all around the community, not just downtown, but other places all around Tucson, all around Phoenix. The state has allowed these things to happen so that we can get people outside. Now, yeah, that's business, but it's also good public health, right? If older people that are at risk or other, we want to get them outside, fresh, clean air. We don't want them in these dining rooms if they feel unsafe. So let's get them out there. Look, guys, the one thing we don't want is for food to have a white lab coat issue. We don't want people to get high blood pressure when they see a restaurant full of people or see people eating together. We can't have this white lab coat fear created after COVID. So we have to show people that we care enough to expand the dining, to deliver food to go, to make it easier to pick up food for takeout, to make sure that that process is better than it was before COVID, so that we can return to some level of comfort and trust that unfortunately has been taken away by COVID for many of us in this industry. So again, I think staying transparent, I think documenting things, learning, constantly reading about what's coming out there and what kind of opportunities are there for your business to pivot to. And I think that if you think about your customer at all times, which is also your internal customer, your employees, and yourself, you'll be better off to respond to something like COVID down the road. I hope that summarizes enough there.
Ray, something I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to. I know someone asked for the C100 plan, and I found the link online, so I hope you don't mind, but I put it in the notes and shared it with everybody. So it's out there for everybody to access.
Do you want to share things that are maybe specific to how your restaurant operates in COVID? Maybe big changes that you guys made that you weren't doing before, or anything like that that could be, you know, for people looking to do that in their own businesses, what they need to keep in mind?
Well, I will say that I think everybody should be aware and avoid headline medical advice. And I say that because I think our smartphones and our technologies are quick to put an article up, like, you know, like they're doing right now about the strains, you know, and the first thing you open your phone and you're going to see this new viral strain that's out there. And the media is very good, and your technology is very good about taking these headlines and making them today's medical advice. I think what's really important right now is to read beyond that and to also set up best practices for your own little world of business. One of the things that we did right away was we communicated to our staff in all the language they needed to, but also about what they do at home. We challenged them to take this practice, not just at work, but when they go home. If they had younger children, and I'm not talking about toddlers or infants, I'm talking about teenage kids who went in and out of the house, that they were more considerate of the fact that they needed to ask them to be careful. They needed to take this mindset of what we're doing in our own businesses to home with them a little bit and protect themselves at other places. Now, again, we had many stories where we had the people go to Mexico for the weekend thinking they're going to be okay and bring back COVID with them somehow. And that happened a lot. I mean, we had, before COVID, we had almost 500 employees. After, you know, right now we're hovering in about half of that. But we wanted people to learn. So we kept sending the staff information about COVID on our letterhead so that they knew where it came from. We kept sending them information about testing, that a test was not a shield of barrier. A test was, if you get tested, go home and wait till you get your results back. There was this mindset that, especially because many people that work in our industry are younger and somewhat feel bulletproof, that when they got COVID, they didn't have symptoms or they didn't have a big sickness out of it. So they weren't, I don't believe, as fearful of it as they should. And if I was using that way, I may have been the same way. But I think what we did was we asked them, please, when you get tested, stay home. And we allotted them the time to stay home. And we didn't, you know, we said, look, we'd rather have you stay home and come back with a negative test. We didn't want to drive them to be an issue for themselves or their family. Were we perfect? Absolutely not. But we led with information that was accurate. We said, go home, get tested, wait for your results. We worked with various testing solutions here. We set up our own. We invested in PPE when it was really hard to, because we didn't want them to be without. And those are things that we put in place so that when restaurants are running, they weren't looking for where's a mask. There's always going to be a mask in our inventory. There's always going to be sanitizer in our inventory. We didn't want them to want for those things because we wanted them to see how serious we took it. We put zero tolerances to it on our vendors. You can ask anybody that walks in our door, Shamrocks or anybody. We put memos out immediately to all third parties. If you walk or come near our building, these are our policies. Please don't make us enforce them forcefully. We are going to tell you this is zero tolerance on what we do expect. And that was part of the effort. I think that the idea of opening up a restaurant, which I know that was a big subject of this effort, it was a very stressful process. The hardest part for me, and I know for Don, was, you know, taking this off to taste food when you are fearing the mask removal, et cetera. So that was tough to do. And that made it take longer than normal, just getting little things done. Like the crew and Julian and the team and Gary's would make something up, and then we'd run in and taste it and then like run out, because we're like, okay, we'll come taste like 6 things today and then go away. Now I've had cancer and some other health stuff, so I was very cognizant about it, and I was very careful and didn't want to expose myself. Now since then, because I've also got a medical providing company, I've been vaccinated, and I feel more comfortable. But it was definitely not easy that during that time frame to get the restaurant open the way we normally would. Normally we'd be sitting around a big table, trying food, sampling stuff, and that was just tough because we had to make individual portions for everybody and put it in a different part of the room, or send them off takeout to Carlota to try at home, or I'd walk in and then somebody else would walk in. So it just took a lot longer to do than normal, and honestly wasn't as much fun. I mean, Dee will tell you, I can see Dee, part of the fun part about the restaurant is the R&D. Well, it wasn't fun, Dee, to do R&D during COVID. There was no fun to R&D about COVID, and yet working with this guy has been amazing. And just going through and making sure that when people come in here, they feel like we're serious about it. We're constantly sanitizing areas that people touch. We have worked on our ventilation systems. We're constantly leaving doors open. And yeah, I mean, we've definitely changed our model. We don't have all the seats inside the restaurants that we once had, and we limit that. During the first week or so or two, when we first opened Barrio Charro, it was extremely hectic because everybody wanted to come see it, right? There was this pent up demand, like, oh my God, something's actually opening and not closing. So, and then, he's kind of popular. So then everybody wanted to come see it, but what do you do when there's 500 phone calls and 500 people standing outside? You literally have to put like a bodyguard out there and go, okay, it's time like a nightclub where we can only let certain people in. We can only handle so much. And I think that may have upset some people, but that was just the way it had to be, because there was a point where I walked in here and I'm like, whoa, way too many people. We have to push people out. Like it or leave it. That's just the way it has to be. We'll win them back over time if they're upset. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because when you're first open, you want all of that. And we couldn't take all of that. We had to push it away. We'll see how people respond long term. I think people like what we're doing, but it was not easy. There was a lot of stressful moments where, like, I know we're pissing people off, because let's face it, there's a good chunk of the population who don't feel that COVID is that big of a threat. And they're going to come in here and they're going to say, well, you're overreacting or you're overdoing it. And we had to just tell them, look, it's the right thing to do.
I think we retained our customer base as well because we were, very vigilant about how we operated the business. And it wasn't that we had this incredible foresight, but we had to flex daily. So, being prepared as an entrepreneur, restaurateur, or food service business, just to be ready every day to make changes. And, most of all, is protecting the community. So once the community saw that we were taking protective measures and we're changing daily to provide the safest establishment possible, we did retain our customers, and they were, they like to talk about it. This changed, you did this, you did that, but being willing to flex daily and just stay current with information that's coming out and be prepared. Just because you have it set up one way doesn't mean you can't change. So I think we've been changing daily to make sure we have a safe environment for not only our customers, but staff as well. And then continuing with education. There's more and more information that's coming at us, and we have to be prepared. Like Ray says, he's putting all the information out on letterhead and constantly communicating to staff about protective measures and what we need to do with our staff and also to protect the community.
Yeah, we'll be looking at now, and we have multiple people, like with the track, we call it, just if you hear the track, that's the Tucson Restaurant Advisory Council. We have people on the track that we have access to some of the best insurance people in the market, like Cody Ritchie's team from Crest, and we have people that work in government, and then we have other people that work in policy and legal and labor laws, because we have access to lawyers. That's the wonderful thing about what we put together with the track, is so we can ask them questions like, well, what is going to happen with the vaccine? There are some companies that are making it. Will we have to make it mandatory? What about paid leave for during that vaccination? What will happen? We wrote letters to our various representatives and state to support that Pima County needed more vaccine. They need to hear from us. But look, we're busy running restaurants, right? So having the track there having like Jonathan Jonathan wrote a wonderful op-ed in support of the fact of keeping restaurants open, keeping delivery things possible, adding policies for expanded dining rooms. That the leadership needs to hear from collective voices. One voice is not enough. And I think that if I was all of you, get involved with your small business community. Talk to other small businesses in your network, because whether or not you feel like, yeah, they are sometimes your competition, you don't have to share the ancient family recipe. But there's nothing like walking in and saying, hey, look, what are you going through? What are you going through? Help each other out, because it should, all boat rises type of mentality should come from that. And in this case, all boats at least need to stay on the water. I don't know if we're all going to rise, but it'd be nice if we can all stay on the water for a while to get through this. Anybody have any questions for us? Nope.
No questions? I'm so surprised.
I have a quick question. This is Dre Thompson from Startup Tucson. I'm curious if you guys experienced any challenges with kind of food distribution. Sorry, I'm coming in late, so if you might have addressed this before. Anything in kind of the distribution pipeline, did it get disrupted through this? Was that something you had to plan for if you were, using local ingredients or ingredients from or equipment? Was that something that was a challenge?
Well, I'll tell you, it was one of the biggest fears I had when COVID first broke, was because I know how the food distribution world works at a bigger level, in that it's one thing, for a grocery store to keep going on, but when they shut down all the restaurants across the country, hundreds of millions of dollars of food went out of code and was thrown away. So the saddest part about that was there was this, it's a pipeline. It's like a rail system that is going around all around our country. And there's distribution that goes to restaurants and there's distribution that goes to grocery stores. And crossing those lines or streams is not easy. So that wasn't done immediately, couldn't be done immediately. And so a lot of food, unfortunately, was literally out of coded, out of date, and thrown away. By the time that the food system changed and was able to get out there, it took a while, and that held up a lot of opportunities and created issues. Now, companies like Shamrock and companies like Cisco and these others, they've all figured that out, and they're very much like us. They're out of the food business, so they think differently sometimes, and they flex and they pivoted. But in the meantime, it created issues. The issues with China, the issues with shipping and delivery and pipelining of that supply chain have created issues. We can't get rubber gloves right now. The medical supply world, nitrite, whatever gloves you want to call them, getting rubber gloves for our restaurants is through the roof now. What used to be $40 a case is now $120 a case. So the examples of to-go-ware, just imagine, you can't, like if you started, somebody said pizza company, if you want a custom pizza box right now, forget about it. You need to buy a container of them in order to have any leverage, because you better just buy a plain one if you're lucky and rubber stamp it, because you will not get a printed cardboard box right now. The printing, the packaging issues, what this has put the supply demand on those issues is really hard. So yes, it's difficult. Supply chain has been tough. Now, one of the things that came up recently in Pima County we were called about was small restaurants couldn't get meat. That was a rumor that was going around, that the supply chain for small restaurants could not get product. I don't doubt that, except there's caveats to that. That's not true in all small restaurants. However, if you're somebody that, for instance, goes and stands in line at Restaurant Depot every day, and you think you're going to get your product that you normally got 2 months ago or other, but then all of a sudden other people, could be from Mexico, could be other, or people are buying more for fear like they did with grocery stores, and they buy twice as much, Restaurant Depot may not have that inventory for you. And that will create a shrink. So sometimes when I hear really small businesses starting, they talk about things like access to capital, or I couldn't get that. Well, sometimes you really got to get your ducks in a row before you go do business. And if you've got issues that are preventing you from getting credit terms with a company, that may hurt you in your supply chain, and your dreams may get thwarted. And you may want to blame them, but you kind of have to blame yourself and get your ducks in order, because doing business like that, when you need to, make sure that you have product, that may mean you have to have a credit term with a company that they'll actually bring you food. that you don't have to stand in line and wait for something that you might get it. And I think we had those issues in Pima County a lot, where a lot of the smaller independents that were used to going every day to pick up their food at a supply source, all of a sudden were running out because that demand was tripling up. Somebody might have said, I'm going to make sure I never run out and buy 3 times that amount that day. And then the person 5th in line missed out. So we have to help people. And I think that's, again, going back to the track or going back to the COG or working with small business development groups like Startup Tucson, teaching people how to get ready to do business so that they're not beholden to supply chain dynamics that don't benefit them. And there are ways around that. And I would love to help anybody that wants to do that or think through that. There are definite ways around that, including cooperative purchasing, joining up with another provider that, hey, look, there's ways around this to get your product and not have to worry about it.
Sounds like it was a little bit like the consumer demand on toilet paper.
100%. It was, and it still is, and it's going to be that way for several items, especially things that are right now mandatory. Masks will be one of them if they keep driving this on. You know, if again the headline medical advice comes around that you've got to wear K95s or KN95s, or that you have to have these rubber gloves or this kind of sanitizer. There are going to continue to be those kind of challenges, and I don't think that's going to end possibly ever. It'll change, it'll ebb and flow, but we will be dealing with this for a long time.
I had a question. You mentioned online sales. We currently don't do any online sales ourselves, but what are some of like the pitfalls, or do you have any pointers for starting one up? We do a lot of like in-house business, so yeah, thank you.
Well, we're definitely not experts at online. I mean, both Don and I have worked on our online businesses separately, in his world in Barrio and our world in Flores Concepts. One of the things for sure that can happen, and I actually think it benefits smaller boutique businesses better than someone like us, because we had enterprise solutions with one kind of system that was a POS system that was a little outdated, and we would have had to redo everything in all the stores to get to be what we could start out with fresh. And that was a costly and stressful scenario. With Barrio Charro, we moved into a more modern cloud-based type system, which is like a Clover system or Toast or one of those. Those guys have better tools already built in for online. So if you have a POS system in store, you may be able to change quickly, find one. In fact, a lot of them will do it if you change your credit card processing and give you a system for low cost. Of course, they get your credit card bills and you want to make sure that they don't gouge you in credit card processing fees, but you may be able to get a new system, again, changing your PO, changing your ISO, your cash credit card services, get a new system that is very flexible for online. The system we put in at Barrio Charro already had really good tools to deal with the likes of the third-party apps or an online sales feature that we could put into our website, whereas our other systems had to be rebuilt from scratch. So, and I think, I don't know what Don's doing now.
Yeah, Alex, you're doing pizza, is that correct?
We're doing beer.
Oh, beer, okay. Yeah, so, you know, with my business, Barrio Bread and Barrio Grains, I've noticed just changing, you know, having different modes of business. You know, you mentioned in-house, but what I've done is started a delivery, online purchase and delivery service as an extension of, you know, my retail sales and wholesale. So that's really helped me, and just sort of, you know, start small with just, you know, a pilot program and building a system. It was done through Shopify, but that's really helped me to understand that I still need to generate that bottom line revenues, but changing the way I do business and allowing for customer preferences to plug in different interface. So some people still want to come to the bakery, you know, in social distance, but some people just, you know, COVID sensitive, they want to deliver to their doorstep, you know, and then build in some online purchasing. And that's what happens at Barrio Charro right now is, you know, people can see an online menu, purchase, you know, pay, and then just pick up quick. It can be brought out to their car. So, you know, you'll see this happening with more and more businesses is, you know, we're having to change the way we do business, but that allows to, you know, still capture that revenue.
Thank you.
right? He just got an invoice from me.
Yeah, I just got pinged. I got an invoice from Don. Alex, are you in the are you actually producing volumes to where you're taking beer, you're bottling, canning? What's your?
So our kind of big pivot during this time is we got a canning machine. And so we're just getting that operational. And that's kind of why we picked our March 15th day, that's just to get all our cans kind of ready for sale. So we're just kind of brewing and getting ready for that. But before COVID, we were strictly growler sales. We were doing about 4 kegs a week in sales in-house. And so we're hoping that this more or less doubles that with cans. So our location is on I-17 and 260. So we get a lot of campers, travelers going up to Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon. So that's where, if they can, on their way up, we believe we get like 65% of our website hits via, on your phone, what's beer on my way. So if we can pre-sell them and they just show up and get beer in their hands, that'd be great. But yeah, sometimes it's like too much of a success. So hopefully we have that problem, but I don't know if you've had that problem where there's too much sales because it is online. So is there ways to limit sales to some degree, or certain areas, or have you noticed anything like that?
Well, I know Shopify has some good tools on limiting, putting inventories in so that you can set that up and not have to deal with a negative backlash of running out of something. You can, it does a good job of modifying and reporting a sold out feature. So I think you should look at Spotify. And I don't know what the laws are right now, and they're changing all the time for breweries, but if they do pass this thing with delivery of alcohol, it may open up some other opportunities for you that you should keep an eye on. So, get really familiar with what is happening at the legislative level right away.
All right, super, thank you.
Looking at that Shopify, because that's what I do with the bread. There's you basically control the inventory. So you put in there how much you have, and then when it's sold out, say sold out right on the picture, and it's you can't purchase anymore. So that's a great feature, especially if you're small and you're not sure how much you can produce. Some companies, big companies, just go for it, drain their supply. It's huge. But for the small producer, yeah, that's a really safe way to go. And then you can still retain some of your sales for these other ways you're going to do business, whether it be some people coming in, beer garden or whatever. But that's been a great tool for me, and I've used it now for 12 years. I started in my garage. My bakery's in my garage, and one person production, 900 loaves a week. And that was awesome for me. I would take some of the farmers market in addition to what I'd sold, because people went on purchase extra, but a great tool for small producers to control their inventory, and still like have a scarcity of goods model. So are people excited to get it? You show them you are busy, but at the same time, not produce a lot of headaches for yourself, and trying to produce to the demand. You're basically, you have the supply to get out there, and what that supply is, and then you can dictate it. Even if you're taking time off, or things, the beer doesn't go well, you can still provide yourself with some insurance.
Yeah, that's perfect, because we just do 100% self-distribution. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Alex, I got one thing to comment on from the operation standpoint. So with Flores Concepts, we pretty much had to create to-go teams, or to-go order type teams versus our in-house servers, bartenders, things like that. And we had to basically separate train these employees to properly be able to deliver a product to our customers safely. And by doing so, it did create additional overhead for our company. But with the online tools that we're currently using within to-go systems, we can shut off those systems instantaneously, so that certain products can't be ordered, or we can just shut down the entire system in general if, for instance, our in-house is too busy, or to-goes are getting way too busy. With those personalized systems that you can get different apps for, it really will make things run a lot smoother for you, especially if you're looking to dive into that online channel. And the best way that I think we created those systems, and how at least people can order directly from us instead of going through third-party companies like the DoorDashes or Grubhubs that just completely gouge your company, and actually take up a lot of your delivery times, and take up your either kitchen space or operation space. A lot of that stuff can, really help you out with, kind of planning to have, almost 2 different types of team members within your organization.
Gotcha.
So I believe Dee raised her hand. So Dee, did you have something to add?
Yes, a question, the third-party delivery, was there a fee cap? Was that a successful fight? When you go online and dealing with this third party, they really gouge you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Was there anything came out of that? I haven't heard.
Dee, I'll share with the plan we called the Sure Plan, but that was back in the first part of the COVID, world. We did get successful with the city on and the city attorney working on, and we published a 15% cap on delivery fees. Now, there's been other pushback. People that are in the market, even people within the industries, have pushed back, saying, it's not right. Government should control businesses. But how I've answered it is this: it's one thing if it's a transparent process. That's been the problem with these third-party apps. There have been many restaurants who all of a sudden there's a guy standing out front or girl, I'm here to deliver your food, and they have no idea, and they just kind of they kind of hijack your delivery business. In fact, you may not even want to have a delivery business because maybe your food doesn't travel well, and then the next thing you know, your menu's online without your approval, and they've added $2 to every item. That has happened in multiple jurisdictions. There's been many lawsuits against these companies, but in the meantime, you have to know, like, their model was to ramp up as much earnings and as revenue as they could to go public, and they've all made ungodly amounts of money in the process. And now there's all this consolidation acquisition going on where just the other day, I think it was Grubhub or DoorDash bought a third-party delivery app that was specifically for alcohol, and they're not even in every market. They paid them over $1 billion. They bought a company. It's not at all profitable. But these are public companies now that their goal is to just drive top line revenue and acquisition, because that's what's going to keep driving their stock up. But in the meantime, there have been unscrupulous behavior from them in attacking and taking over restaurants. Now, these are marketing companies. And I want, I'll tell you all a little story real quick. I've been involved with some restaurant leadership groups that I didn't belong in. I wasn't big enough, but I snuck my way in. Okay. I was invited to one called it's called the Restaurant Advisory. I'm sorry. What is the name? I'm forgetting the avenue right now. RLC, Restaurant Leadership Conference. And in this conference, it's basically the top of maybe the 500 most influential people in the restaurant world, and they get to go to this thing. And I snuck into it because Pepsi and I had arranged this deal, and I said, please get me in that thing. I want to go to it. And I remember I sat in a room once about 5 years ago, and the head of Yelp was standing in the front, and there's all these, chief marketing officers and people and little old me, and there's this guy up front, he's telling me, and I couldn't stand Yelp. I was like, I don't want to deal with Yelp. I hate it. And he's standing up, but I wanted to hear this person. And he did this thing where he said, if you don't think that I matter, I want to show you something. And he asked a guy in the audience, what's your name? And the guy said his name. What's your brand? And he says, I'm the owner of, I founded Halal Guys, which is a pretty big brand now. Halal Guys is kind of a national brand that's growing. He says, come on up. He brings him up to the stage, and he has this big screen behind, like we have this map behind us. And he says, where do you think your next Halal Guy should go? And he says, well, I don't know. We're going to have franchise. We're selling. I was like, well, let me do this. And he types in whatever he types in, and up comes a heat map. And he could tell you from Yelp where people were searching for Mediterranean food in the country. And he could dial down by numbers to where on a map would show you where you should go as a restaurant that was underserved or overserved. Everybody in the room took this deep breath. Like I could feel the world change, because everybody in there could now know McDonald's customers were no longer McDonald's customers. Halal Guys customers were no longer Halal Guys customers. They belong to these online models. This is customer acquisition at its finest. And they could tell you, if you want to expand, here's where they're looking for you and they can't find you, or here's where you're already at and where you need to go somewhere next. And it changed the game. So what they're doing now in this acquisition model, we're never going to beat it. What we've got to do is put some brakes on them to where we can get what we need. And if you see recently, if you watch the Super Bowl, they all are marketing local. If you watched it, Grubhub, DoorDash, support local. They had one with Wayne's World on it that were like the two guys from Wayne's World. You know, buy local, and they were singing their silly song. And I think Nikki, one of those rapping girls, was on it. And it was about buying local. They didn't say anything else. They were buying local. Why? Because it's the local sucker that's making them all their money. I mean, at the end of the day, they already have the deals with the chains. The chains are going to go. They're going to make, the chains is easy. They can get 500 restaurants with one meeting on a chain, but they got to get to the locals because people they know the chains already. The locals is the target right now that gives them their juice to solve for their financial situation. So as we put it, we just need transparency. We slapped them back with this 15% cap. They immediately came out and added a Tucson fee, and that was an additional cost, but we got it down to 15, but they can fee it up. But here's the difference. Now it's transparent. Now the customer can decide, do I really want to spend $9 more to get a burrito from wherever when I could just drive down there? The county right now and I are in the same discussion because we need the county to also come up and match the city. So we're now modifying the doctrine to try and make it more about transparency of agreement, which is going to be better for small restaurants and small businesses. I'm not saying it's bad to not, we do some business with these people, but we need transparency. So hopefully what we're going to do is get an agreement between the city and the county, which that's God's work, right, Jonathan? To try and make happen, that we're going to make the city and the county agree on something to work together to actually get a language that will benefit small businesses, that will allow transparency so that these third-party apps don't do what they did in the beginning, which was basically to hijack your business and to become just another number on their heat map. I hope that makes sense. So.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, thanks, Ray. That was a great background and great examples. I just wanted to circle back to Dee's question. The Tucson City Council approved on October 6th, a 15% cap on third-party delivery fees for restaurants. And it went into effect October 15th, and it'll stay in effect until the limits on dine-in service are over.
Hey, Dee, ping me later. I'll tell you, there is somebody on a local level that's setting up their own version of a DoorDash, and I believe they're going at like 10%. And we're going to be entertaining them pretty soon.
Will do. Thank you. But what do you mean ping you?
Just email or text me, however you want to get hold of me. I'll get you the information.
Okay, thank you.
Ray, would you mind putting your email in the chat box? That might make it easier. While he does that, does anybody else have any more questions? Yeah, this is a great discussion. It's a great opportunity to talk to both Ray and Don about whatever's on your mind.
I have a question for Don Guerra about his greens and breads and working with heritage foods and sort of niching like that and working with growers. If you have any insight or wisdom or how to get the grants and things like that. You're muted, Don. Thanks.
And my hopes were for working as a community-based business was to really shorten that supply chain, that grain chain. So it came down to relationships, meeting as many people as I could that believed in sort of the mission and vision behind Barrio Bread, behind my company of creating a, sort of a food hub for bakery. But, you know, luckily that was the case leading up to the pandemic. You know, even though we're faced with these enormous challenges, for me, I had grain in storage for a year, you know, plus. So for me, you know, establishing the relationships with the farmers, so shorten that supply chain was just critical to what's happening now, because, you know, right now there's distributors that aren't there to serve you, or warehouses that are out of goods because so many people are trying to get at them. So, you know, I'm glad it worked out for me the way it has, but it's really comes down to relationships, meeting people in your community, working with the University Cooperative Extensions, helped with the grant writing, and meeting people like Sophia and Jing from Apex was, you know, huge for my business, because I knew there was a way to develop a company that was in a bakery that was more local based. And so my model fit right in line with local food promotion, USDA grants. So, you know, you should look into, you know, get on the USDA website and look at different opportunities that are out there. You know, years ago when I was looking for grants, you know, maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I got on the USDA website and I was reading the local food promotion grant, and it was almost written for me. I felt like I really believe in this. I want to go for it, because it was about education outreach. It was about making foods with products that grow in your community and partnering with farmers, and a commitment to, you know, building with your partners, you know, the food shed when it came to grain. So, you know, work with people in your community, you know, reach out to the university in your area, look at their cooperative extension, meet people, are looking for people that help you write the grants, these grant companies. And also SCORE is a great resource. It's the retired executives that will help you know, advise you on writing business plans. Service Corps of Retired Executives. Yeah, so really building your network of people, letting them know what you're doing, and ask for that support. And a lot of times you can get free support. So that's what I would suggest. But yeah, look at the USDA website. And then from there, you know, luckily I had built a lot of relationships, and that's what it takes to get some of these grants. It's not so much about one company, you know, one person going out there and trying to do it, but, you know, building your community, you know, strengthening your community by reaching out to everyone involved and showing that there is a need, that you have support, and that, you know, you have a strong mission.
Thank
so
you.
Hopefully, second, I've been awarded 2 grants now, and we're working on the 3rd. So hopefully just keep going, but yeah, show a need in your community and establish those relationships.
Yeah, grants are unique from, you know, loans or anything like that, because they're not just for one person. They're not meant to be just for your business to get a leg up. It's supposed to have a bigger impact. So Don did all the legwork of establishing all that work you mentioned. And then it's just a matter of putting together a good application.
Don, can you talk about any micro certifications that have been helpful for you? Or just any other things that people should be on people's horizon to increase the profitability of their products?
Yeah, that's great. I was going to mention, you know, because I heard some people talking about, you know, startups, and, you know, for me, it was a garage startup. So, you know, I looked at, there's a website called forager.com, Foraager, forager.com, and it has a state map on the front page of the website. Go to the state, you can click it, and it'll tell you sort of the requirements to start a cottage food business. For bakery in Arizona, you know, there was very few restrictions. I know California, there are more restrictions, and as well as Oregon, but these are great resources. If you're just starting small, you know, I built a bakery out of my garage and I got certified right away, and no better feeling to know that I'm totally legal to make my product and get it out to the community. You know, that was 12 years ago, and I feel like I've done pretty well on just trying to grow every year, but trying to grow in a sustainable way. But that certification is huge, you know, to make sure and report and to certify your business and just show that you have these sort of certifications to get out there and do it publicly. And that's what the community wants now, is to know that they're eating safe. You know, they what you're doing is your food preparation is all, it's all been inspected and you're ready to go and you have these certifications. So forager.com is a great way to go if you're starting bakery. And I know Sandy is doing that, trying to do that in California. So that's a great resource. But yeah, and then also look at, we're very lucky here in Tucson to have organizations like Tucson City of Gastronomy to have that designation. So looking at other organizations that help promote your business. And like I said before, establishing those relationships and developing a network of people that can, help continue to spread the word about what you're doing. But really, trying to be transparent as possible, trying to communicate what you're doing to the community. And a big part of my grant work has been education outreach. Not only, I've done that because I'm an educator, University of Arizona College of Ed grad, and I believe in it, but that's been a huge part of my business, is getting out there and telling people how and why I do it, and holding information sessions, not only like this one, but bread making, to let them know how to do it so they can gain interest. Not that they're gonna start a bakery, maybe some do and some have, but to share information. I feel like that's a great way to gain strength for your business. Teach it forward and share it.
Great. We did have a question in the chat box. Don, are you able to see that, or do you want me to read it out loud?
Oh, go ahead, read it.
Okay, so this is from Ozma. What are some steps that new businesses can take to start to build relationships in the community and build partnerships to start sourcing from local producers or other local businesses? For example, sourcing flour or other ingredients.
Really, I think, starting with teaching people about bread making, if it's whatever you do, is to share that information. And that's what I started to do. And then I started to gain, kind of a leg up on meeting new people. People introduced me, oh, do you know this person? Do you know that person? And what we did years ago is I worked with the Native Seed Search on the first grant to start the grains. And we held an information session that was partly bread making, but also we sent out requests for farmers to join us and see if anyone was interested. And there was a seed donation program that way they did. And it was to give farmers seed to grow free of charge, and then take part of the yield, give it back, and then they retain some, but also to, share information. And then anyone that's going to be involved in your food chain, invite them just to share information, try to recruit. And I think, you'll find that if you're doing something really exciting and you are passionate about it, in these sessions, people want to join, people want to be part of that tribe. So I think that's what it takes. It's just trying to share your passion, share the information, be transparent. And then through that, you're able to recruit more people. And then also, like I mentioned, the cooperative extensions through university, they know a lot of farmers, work with the Department of Ag through the universities, and they can help direct you to people that are, farmers that have been working with the university, and those form very strong relationships that are more community-based, working with like the land grant institutions. And then through that, there's a lot of grant opportunity.
Thanks so much.
Great, thanks. And Cynthia has raised her hand.
Yes, hi, thank you. Don, besides getting your product out there, going for organizations, I'm using a lot Facebook. I attended my first market this weekend and it went pretty good. And you mentioned city gastronomy. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, and maybe Jonathan, just a quick plug on what you do, Jonathan. I would love to see Cynthia join your organization.
Thanks. So please check out our website. I'll put it in the chat box right after this. It's tucson.cityofgastronomy.org. And we have a number of programs where we're promoting local producers, local food artisans, locally owned independent restaurants. And we did produce a directory in 2019 of Southern Arizona food producers, and it includes more than 150 producers. I'm sorry, more than 150 different products by more than 50 different producers. And so Yes, that is one of the missions of our organization, is to try to help make these connections. I'll put the my contact info in the chat box.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for that. Yes, just thinking on different ways to escalate the brand and, you know, getting people to know you. I think right now with the pandemic, it's a little bit harder because you can't be out there so much, but there are like many different ways. Like I mentioned, the Facebook,
Oh, yeah.
promoting your events, that's very important. But any other recommendations, suggestions that maybe you can give us on how to put our brand out there, and people start noticing you a little bit? I don't know, maybe special events pretty known here in Tucson. Since I'm barely new here, I'm not that familiar with all the artisan markets. So is that also in Tucson of City of Gastronomy? I will find it there.
On our website, you'll find a list of all the local farmers markets. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
And Cynthia, I have great flour for your cookies. You know this. So,
yes.
Yeah. But it takes, you know, like working, you know, with Barrio Bread, me and, you know, Barrio Charro, like this is one thing we do is we support local food artisans. And you'll see that when you come in Barrio Charro, like in the bodega side of the business, you know, we really have a strong belief in supporting those up and coming people. You know, we have been there, you know, I would up and coming for years and having people help to support my business. So yeah, reach out to these people like Tucson City Gastronomy, go for that artisan food producer certificate, because the more you can get your business out there and people see other organizations supporting you, the better. You know, working with other people to share your post, you know, that's in social media. I was kind of just crazy about it, always posting. And then it becomes popular because people see it frequently, and then other people share my information. But yeah, show that, you know, what you're doing, other people are supporting you, and some of the ingredients you're using, you know, might be local, which is a big thing right now, is people really want to support local.
Yes.
So this is one reason, you know, why this designation of City Gastronomy has really blown up for us, because we're all very proud to live where we live and to use the local ingredients. We have certifications in place. We have people that believe in it, and the more you do it and the more you share, the more you can get out there and meet new people and belong to other organizations. I mean, you're becoming, you know, more and more recognizable to others.
Yes.
See you frequently, but happy to support
Awesome.
you, sharing your posts,
Yes.
because I'm all about it. So. Yeah.
I will definitely come and get some of your flour. I don't know why I didn't thought of that, because you know what, even my recipe changed from, I used to live in a humid place, and then here it's drier. So I have to modify my recipe. So I will come and contact you and see you this week.
We'll give you some samples.
To get a sample. Yes. Thank you so much,
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is, you know, to grow Barrio Grains into, you know, small incubation project to, you know, becoming a strong local brand, you know,
yes,
hopefully maybe national brand someday. I don't know, but we're moving forward, and we want to just make people more aware of what's happening with the grains, and that they can have access to it too. So that's why the information session today, and why the grant requirements are so, just to get out there and recruit people and to share information. So
thank you so much.
Okay. Hey everyone, I have to get going to get my son, but Ray's gonna be here for you to help wrap up, and Sophia and John. But thanks for coming today, and reach out to us for more questions, and I know we have some information to share with you that will help, you know, with the COVID sort of items.
When Don shared his secret recipes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna blast them all.
Thank you, everybody.
So does anyone have any more questions for Ray? Okay, great. So I guess we'll start wrapping up. Ray, there were some things you wanted to share?
Well, I'll just, I think that if you share the C100 from our website and the URL, that's probably pretty good. That'll give you a good roundabout of what we did. I think if you go to our websites, I'll type a couple of them there. You'll see a little bit of our messaging on ccharro.com. And again, my email, if anybody wants to ask me any questions or get any access to documents, I'd be happy to share them with you. I know Jonathan has a lot at his fingertips also. So thanks again for including me.
Great, thank you. And I've just put the program website on the chat box. If you guys missed it, we had an info session on how to develop food labels for your products, whether, you know, for selling them. We had 2 UA professors talk about what needs to be on a label and, you know, what's important. So that's found on a YouTube page in that page, and you're welcome to watch that on your own time. Similarly, this session will, since it is being recorded, will be uploaded and will also be posted onto that website. I'll be sure to email out to everybody that, you know, participated in RSVP, so you can have access to that. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Ray, for taking the time out of your day for being here with us. We really appreciate it. If no one else has anything else to add, we can go ahead and finish up the session. Great. All right. Well, thank you guys again so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.